Hello, everyone. This is Randy Kirk, and I just want to keep the conversation going. So the Twitter Spaces created plenty of content, plenty of opportunity to talk about what's going to happen next year. It's so great to have Elon just being out there and being transparent and helping us to truly understand his motivations, his direction, his strategies. And I really want to talk about one of the major strategies today that he brought out. Let's be very, very clear on what he said. What he said was they will sell vehicles even at no profit in order to grow. And this is, I think, hyperbole. Let's make sure. I want to let you know, I think this is hyperbole. So let's take a look at what no profit means. Let's manage the concept. So last year, the average Tesla vehicle made about $13,500 in profit. That's 27% margins. That's a very good deal. That's a very higher than any other car company, except for, I think, is Maserati, maybe one of the supercars makes those kind of margins. Nobody else comes close. So in order for the company to sell a car at no profit in 2023, given the $7,500 gift that the Biden administration is giving to the US population, that would mean the car would have to be $20,000 less expensive than it was this year. I don't think anybody thinks that you're going to have to drop the price of a Model 3 or Model Y by $20,000 in order to make it sell in the quantities that are necessary. There was a huge manufacturing recession back in the beginning of the 21st century. And that recession, the headline in the LA Times was 25% manufacturing recession. And it happened in a single month. So a 25% reduction in the total number of cars was kind of the headline, actually. It really was across all manufacturing, but where everybody notices it first, of course, is car production dropped immediately by 25%. So I don't think we're going to have that kind of a recession next year anyway, but let's just say that there's a 25% total reduction in overall automotive sales. I think if you took a $50,000 car and sold it for $30,000, people would find the money. If you took a $60,000 car and sold it for 40, people would find the money. I don't think you have to go nearly that far. In fact, I'm going to be as clear as I can be. If you have a $50,000 Model 3 or a $60,000 Model Y, and you give them a $7,500 discount, I think you're going to sell all you can make in the United States. I've been putting that up on Twitter for a few days. I'd love to hear your comments below, but I don't think you're going to have any trouble at all selling all of the Fremont capacity and the additional, let's say, 300 to 350,000 Model Ys out of Texas with the $7,500 discount. Now, I think there could be some discounting going on with the Model S and the Model X. But I also think that there's going to be marginal cost margins dropping. So you're going to have lower cost of batteries, according to Elon in that same interview on Twitter Spaces. He said the cost of batteries will be coming down because raw material costs are coming down. You will have, as the ramp up takes place in Austin and as they become better and better at building cars in Fremont, you will have cost reductions there as well. So I think that any marginal drops that might be done on the few Model S's and Model X's that are built next year and sold next year will be more than offset by these drops in cost of goods sold. Okay, so that's the United States. Now let's go to Europe. I don't think there's going to have to be any kind of a discount in Europe either. You're talking about 300 to 350,000 cars being made in the Berlin plant. Europe has a slightly larger population than the United States. I don't think you're going to have any trouble selling those additional vehicles in Europe. Yes, it will cut into Shanghai's exports to Europe. So that's what we'll look at finally. But so I'm going to say no discounting in Europe, $1,000 here, $1,500 there, something free, charging miles. I mean, who knows? There could be some kinds of promotions or things that go on. But again, those might be offset by the lower costs of the vehicles in the Berlin plant, because not only will they be made in Berlin, so you don't have the freight, but you also don't have the duties. So already there will be plenty of places to play with the cars that are going to be made in Berlin. Now we come to Shanghai. Shanghai's 1.2 million cars roughly is what people are projecting for next year. I've said this on a couple of other videos, so you can go and look at the details, but it is an export facility. All of the Model 3s in the rest of the world, except for the United States, are made in Shanghai. There's no Model 3s yet made in Berlin. Maybe later in the year, they'll start to make Model 3s in Berlin, but for next year, all the Model 3s that are sold throughout the entire world, other than the United States, will be made in Berlin. So those are not going to need to be discounted. There's just not going to be enough capacity for those next year. Model Y is the big question, but the demand for Model Y has been huge throughout the world. And all the Model Ys for Great Britain, because they're right-hand drive, for Australia, New Zealand, for all of Southeast Asia, they're opening up new markets. They just opened up 2 new markets, Thailand and Turkey. And I'm guessing that they'll be opening maybe 1 new market a month. Why not? There's plenty of new markets to be open. So as these new markets are open and there's a tremendous amount of demand, I don't think there'll be any discounting for these exports. Again, maybe a little here and a little there, but I don't think it's going to be anything substantial for these exports. So bottom line is, I'm saying maybe 500,000 cars made in Shanghai will be discounted for the Shanghai market, for the China market. Those might be discounted, let's say $5,000 per vehicle. That would be a pretty substantial discount, much more of a discount than has been happening over the course of this last year. So let's say 5,000. There are some incentives happening in China as well, and there may be more as their recession plays out one way or the other. So I'm just going to say 2.5 billion. $2.5 billion worth of incentives in China. If I were doing it, I'm a marketing guy, I wouldn't necessarily do it all on the incentive side in terms of the $5,000 discount per car. I think I would do it more with advertising, promotion, trying to develop the fleet sales. There's a lot of ways to go besides just taking $5,000 off a car, but let's still take that $2.5 billion off the table for next year. Okay, so if you start from square one and you say, as some are, oh, Tesla's only going to build 1.9 million cars next year, or let's call it 2. If they're only going to build 2 million cars next year, they're not going to ramp up anything. No additional cars in Austin, no additional cars in Berlin than what they're making in December. Not even December, that they made all year. There's no ramp at all. I don't think that's going to happen. So if you say they're only going to make 2 million cars next year, I'm saying that 2 million cars will be made at virtually full profit, the $13,500 each. So that'll be a $27 billion profit. And that's $8 a share, $8 a share. That's higher than the street is suggesting at this point. And the $8 a share from cars wouldn't include energy, wouldn't include the incentives from the IRA next year. So right away, if you're only going to make those 2 million cars, you're probably still beating the street by a lot. Now let's take the other direction. Let's say that you build the 2.4, 2.5, or I say 2.65 million cars next year, and you give away $2.5 billion in profits in incentives in China. You can see that would be a much better solution. You'd have substantially more profits. Now you're talking, if you start adding in the energy and you add in the incentives and you add in a few millions and billions from other pieces of the Tesla pie, I still say you're going to get to at least $14, $15 a share of profits for 2023. That'll be a substantial beat of the street and a huge increase over 2022. Find the holes. Tell me where I'm wrong. Love to hear from you. I've been trying to answer all your comments, except for the really negative, nasty ones. I don't answer those. But if you give me something to work with, I'm trying to answer as many comments as I possibly can. Been great talking to you.